The world right now is very much closed off, and it's leaving many with a desire to go and visit places in the world that they just can't access, which is a very fine thing to think about because eventually the world shall open up again now that vaccines are slowly being distributed throughout the nations of the world. And so, when the time comes, you're going to want to look at some cities to visit, possibly ones that will really make your jaws drop in terms of their luxury and splendor. So, allow us to show you 8 of the most luxurious cities in the world. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, Hong Kong. Hong Kong has had a long and sordid history dealing with ownership and its own rights, but eventually it worked itself out and now is a luxury spot in the East. Hong Kong is literally a nation that is known for being a place for people to go have fun, wine and dine in luxury, and more. You'll find an onslaught of 5-star hotels, restaurants, casinos, and more in order to ensure that people there have the highest amount of luxury possible. But that's still not all. The nation is known for having one of the best malls in the world, perfect for people to go and shop until they literally drop. They have theme parks there of various kinds, and they literally appeal to all ages. So not unlike Dubai, they have very much changed their image into something more desirable, and it's hard to fault them for wanting to do that. They're not a perfect place, but Hong Kong is hard to beat in many ways. Number 7, Los Angeles, California. For many, LA is the mecca of what it means to be living well in America. After all, the rich live there in their beautiful mansions, and of course you have access to some of the biggest parties in the country. And if that's not enough for you, Hollywood is there. Indeed, it is the home to many celebrities and stars that you would love to meet and possibly could meet just by walking down the street. Many tourists go and find the Hollywood Walk of Fame to see their favorite stars and enjoy some of the classic LA scenery, go see a Lakers game, and more. Now sure, the longer you stay in LA, the more you see its flaws, but if you're lucky enough to live in its grander spots, you're not going to be wanting for much. Number 6, Sydney, Australia. Australia as a nation is a place that many love to go to for various reasons. Going down under, as it's called, will bring you all sorts of entertainment and excitement. But if you want a luxury spot to visit down under, you have to talk about Sydney. Easily, one of the most famous places in all the world, Sydney, Australia is known for its beautiful beaches, landmarks, people, and history. Sydney is one of its biggest places to go to in Australia as a whole city-wise. Thus, many tourists arrive there and then branch out among the rest of the country. But Sydney is easily one of the best tourism places because of things like the Sydney Opera House. You also have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, Watson's Bay, the Rocks, Sydney Tower, Darling Harbour, the State Library in New South Wales, the Royal Botanic Garden, the Royal National Park, the Australian Museum, the Museum of Contemporary Art, the Art Gallery of New South Wales, the Queen Victoria Building, Sea Life Sydney Aquarium, Taronga Zoo, Bondi Beach, the Blue Mountains, and Sydney Olympic Park. You might have thought that we were milking the luxury of Sydney, but it really does stand out on its own. Number 5, New York City. There's a reason why the catchphrase in New York is, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. At one point in time, New York City was a gateway to the United States, and now New York proudly stands as one of many major cities in the United States where you can expect to find the rich, powerful, wealthy, and more. Just in terms of buildings, New York City has a skyline that few can match, not the least of which is because of historic buildings and landmarks like the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, One World Trade Center, and more. If you're a sports fan, New York has you covered with the Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets, Rangers. Oh yeah, and the Knicks. Regardless, there's a lot to do in New York, even if you don't have a lot of money to spend. There's all sorts of activities happening all the time. Plus, there's a feeling that you get when you're in New York that can't fully be explained unless you visit it yourself. Number 4, Singapore. Singapore is yet another spot on our world tour that slowly transformed itself into one of the luxurious, rich, and trend-setting places on Earth. Tourism is a major industry and contributor to the Singaporean economy, attracting 18.5 million international tourists in 2018, more than 3 times Singapore's total population. Singapore is the 5th most visited city in the world, which just shows just how many people want to go there. And every year, tourism accounts for much of its GDP. Well-known landmarks include the Merlion, Marina Bay Sands, Gardens by the Bay, the Jewel, the Orchard Road Shopping Belt, the Resort Island of Sentosa, and the Singapore Botanic Gardens, Singapore's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are special zoos and malls there, as well as architecture that ranks among some of the highest in the world. There is a lot to see if you can make it there one day. Number 3, Tokyo, Japan. Tokyo, Japan is much more than a capital city. It's honestly its own world, and we mean that in the best way possible. Tokyo is known for its bright lights, exotic tastes, its people who can be anything from serious businessmen to cat girls. No, that is not a joke. There are a lot of unique people in Tokyo, Japan. The different districts of Tokyo help paint the many different ways the city and nation has evolved over the years. From vending machines, where you can get almost anything, to stores where you can play with cats all day, to karaoke bars, gaming arcades that'll blow your mind, and more. Go to Shibuya and you'll get to experience the Scramble Crossing, one of the busiest places in all the world. And this says nothing of the incredible technology you'll see in stores and being used by people. This place is truly a marvel to behold, and it's why so many want to visit it at least once. Number 2, Paris, France. We've shown you a lot of great luxury cities so far, but bear in mind that of many out there in the world, the peak level of beauty and luxury can be found in Paris, France. A city that is famous for its landmarks, its art, its people, its food, and more. It's a spot that many go to at least once in their lives because of all it offers. Paris is a city that is littered with history, and all you have to do is walk around it in order to see it all. Or you can just look out your window and see things like the Eiffel Tower. Plus, there are plenty of French restaurants that will allow you to eat some of the best cuisine in Europe. More than enough reason for people to try it out. Like many places on this list, it's not a perfect place, far from it at times. But there is a beauty and luxury to it that people are almost drawn to no matter its downsides. And it's easily one of the most visited cities in the world, so that helps prove the point too. Number 1, Dubai, UAE. In many people's minds, Dubai, which is in Saudi Arabia, is the most luxurious city in the world, and emboldening that claim every single year that passes. As each new year brings more money, more projects, more expansions of the city, and more people wanting to come to this new tourist destination in the Middle East. The catch, as it were, is that the city may be luxurious now, but it wasn't always that way. In fact, the UAE has undergone a massive transformation over the last several years that coincides with its luxury, which says a lot that they were able to change their image in such a short amount of time. In short, they wanted to go from being a nation known only for oil to being a place that would bring in tourists from all over the world, which they did in spades once they put their minds to it. Dubai is now a place of grand architecture with structures that touch the sky, are designed to be pleasing to view, and so on, all to get people to want to come. In fact, they built things at such a pace that they started to run out of room, and thus built their own islands in the bodies of water they had near the city so that they could build even more. One has to wonder what the city will be like in another 5 years or 10, as its luxury doesn't seem to be coming to an end anytime soon. So what do you think? What do you think of these cities that reek of luxury and are definitely spots you should try to visit when you can? Have you already gone and visited some of these cities? What did you think of them when you went? Do you feel that there are other cities in the world that should be on this list? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time on the channel.